Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Babajide Sanwo-Olu, technocrat and politician from Lagos State, who contested and won the gubernatorial primaries under the All Progressives Congress against incumbent Governor Akinwunmi Ambode of Lagos State, making him the party's candidate at the upcoming elections. Today, he will be telling us why he wants to govern Nigeria's commercial center. Welcome to the show, Mr. Sanwo-Olu.
Thank you very much, Tino. Good morning.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Very well. You guys as well, a lovely place here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, as I said in the intro, tell us why you want to govern Nigeria's commercial nerve center, Lagos State, and what do you bring to the table that's different from your predecessors and opponents in this contest to govern Lagos State?
Thank you very much. Once again, like you've rightly, introduced me, I'm Babajide Sanwo-Olu. To be honest, in the last 30 years, post-university, I've had a very unique opportunity to have worked 17 years in the private sector and 13 years in the public sector, So I come to the table having a pedigree, Someone that had worked in the financial sector. I had actually run the treasury of 3 banks as a treasurer, head of investment banking and all of it. I have run a startup company before. I had worked in the Niger Delta region of this country. I had worked in Maiduguri before because I started as a surveyor, meaning I'd done seismic data acquisition, Leaving the private sector. I came into government in 2002, first as a special advisor to the deputy governor, then to the governor. Within the first 1 year, I've traversed the whole state. I've been to a whole lot of countries all around the world, given the opportunity by the then governor of the state, taking me around all of the intervention locations, Within a year, I became the acting commissioner for economic planning and budget, which was a responsibility that technically puts you a bit above your peer, because what happens with economic planning and budget is everybody needs to bring their budget to you for sign-off, to review, to understand the policy trusts of government way back in 2005, So I did that for 2 years, I was subsequently appointed Commissioner for Commerce and Industry. As Commissioner for Commerce and Industry, I had the privilege of signing off the Lekki Free Trade Zone that all of us celebrate today, which, by the way, has the biggest construction going on in the world today, a 16 billion refinery and petrochemical factory coming up there, which we signed off with the Chinese there way back then. At the end of that administration, God has it that I also came back again. I was appointed Commissioner for Establishment, Training and Pension, meaning that within the 4 years, I was in charge of the entire civil service, pushing up their capacity development, looking through all of the organogram of the civil service, teachers, doctors, core public officers, and setting about a policy, a human capital development index for all of them, including their salaries, including ensuring, that their wage comes on time, including ensuring that their take-home is truly, really a take-home, giving them a whole lot of the minimum wage even at that time. So if we push that aside, in 2011, I left the public service. I went back into the private sector. So I went into privatization, I was extensively involved in the PHC privatization. I went into construction. I went into real estate development. But more importantly, I went into CSOs and NGOs. I was giving back to my community. I was training people. I was developing young people. Became a mentor to a whole lot of people, In 2016, I had a unique opportunity again, very fortuitously. I was called by the current governor to also come and be the head of the managing director, chief executive for LSDPC, which is the foremost property development company in the country, and of course in Lagos State, Within 2 years, we've turned the company, which is almost 80, 90-year-old, into a state in which it's become the foremost property company development in Nigeria right now. And we've brought about innovation where all of the 14 or so transactions that were done in the 2 years that I was there, they were all PPPs. They were all private initiatives, meaning we're using private equity, we're using private funds to run public enterprises, So in the last 30 years or so, like I've said, nobody has a pedigree, the experience, the know-how, Both understanding what are the requirements of the private sector. They want a government, that understands what their issues will be, understand that they need access right? So that you bring about policies that will make the economic development, which is really drawn by the private sector, right, to be on the forefront, but also understand how government works. I know the geography of Lagos. I've traversed everywhere in the state. I understand what policies need to be brought about. I understand what the issues that concerns people are. I understand what people truly want us to be doing at this point in time to take Lagos to a greater level, to a level in which all of us will be so proud of. That's the pedigree that I bring. That's why I believe that at this time, given the opportunity God has given me, given all of the innovation ideas that I have come about, developing myself, training myself, working with people, opening up partnerships, engaging people, both in the public and the private sector, that resume can very well take this 20 million economy to a level that all of you will be so proud of. That's what I bring to the table.
All
and
right,
that's
sir.
why I believe we could do it.
Mr. Sanwo-Olu, now let's take you, because leading up to your emergence,
Yes.
there was always a talk about a master plan, the blueprint in which runs Lagos, so to speak. And we want to find out from you, what is this master plan? What does it entail? Have you seen the master plan? Has the master plan been delivered to you on how to actually take Lagos to the next level?
Well, it's very simple. You know, it's actually you in the media that have coined it, right? How it started, way back in 2002, 2003, right? We came up with different documents, policy documents. One was called the 10-point agenda. The other one were called the last seat document. You know, so we brought out documents that shows, right, development plans, 3-year, 5-year development plan. And each time you need to review them, right? So it's never a static document. It's always a moving document. So what we've done, right, is look at all of the policies that had happened before now, look at all of the developments that had happened before now, shape out a new policy trust that can have a 2019 to 2023 development agenda using the MTEF and the MTFF strategy, meaning you have a budget in which is rolling, right? You don't create a box in which you start January to December a loan budget. You have a 3-year rolling budget. What you continue in 2019, you can actually see to in 2020 and 2021, meaning that you have projects that will spin over a year. So in terms of a master plan, it's really just looking at the policy trust. What are the critical things that people require now? What are the critical things that the private sector wants government to open up for them now? And that's what we're about. So what we've done in our own campaign trail, right, is looking at all of those documents, but listening more to people and asking all of the stakeholders in the Committee of Lagos what truly really is important to you. What would you want your government to do for you right now? What are your concerns? And so we've gone around traversing the states, traversing all of the various stakeholders, right? And we've come up with a project team. It's called a 5-pillar theme. You know, it's acronym THEME, so that it's nimble in your fingers. You can count them, and you can begin to situate them into different boxes. You can look at your numbers. You can look at which one is critical, which one are low-hanging, which one would you require a lot more detailed, you know, work. And that's what we've done. That's what we've done. You know, so talking about, you know, a master plan, it's a rolling number. It's a rolling trust, right? That nothing is ever static, right? So you look at what the predecessors have done, what are the successes coming out of it, and you design a blueprint going forward for you.
It seems like the proverbial red book, but do people really, yes, do you share this with the people as time goes on so that they can also hold you accountable to development as when due? If you say this is a milestone we're supposed to achieve in this space of time and you do not achieve that milestone, can people always say that, okay, based on this particular red book, and
this is where you're supposed to be.
This is where you're supposed to be,
Absolutely.
and this is where you are right now.
Absolutely.
And this is where you need to shore up your
Absolutely.
actions, or this is where you need to actually begin to focus on. It seems the people in Lagos don't.
No, they will do. They actually do. That's why we're populating it now. Okay. That's why if I have the time, I can actually run you through, right? And it is on our website. So what is happening is, you know, to develop a policy document, you just don't sit in your room and believe you know it all. It's only when you've gone out to engage people, various stakeholders, students, youth, market women, you know, people in businesses, you know, all of it. And that's what the train has been in the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks, right? So taking in a lot of input, right, and developing what exactly, the requirements in Badagry will probably be different from the one in Ekwe. the one in Alimosho will probably be different from the one in Ikeja, right? So you don't sit in a cozy place and draft something. So it's only when you've gone around all of this, right, then it becomes a living document, a life document that you can put on a table and says that, you know what, Lagosians, mark us on this. These are the things we're going to be doing. These are how we're going to do it. This is where we believe will take us, you know, to the journey that we've set with you. So that is becoming a live document now, and we share it with everybody.
All right, so which website do you have? You said it will be put up on the website. Which website?
My campaign website is www.babajidesanwo-Olu.com.
All right. So
yes. There's another one, bosmedia.com.
All right, so it has all this you talked about, right?
Like I said, it's a live document. Just yesterday, right, we got a huge input, right, from the entire Muslim community. Very, very comprehensive documentation. And we said to them, even looking at this, right, 3, 4 things out of this certainly must actually come into our manifesto, must come into, because there's such an important stakeholder, right? And that's how you engage people. Do you understand? That's how you get the document to be their document, to be a document which they will work with you. So it becomes a to-do list. So if they say to me that on education, for example, there are 7, 8 schools that are critical for them, and these are the reasons why those schools are critical, I need to go back and put those 7 schools there. And I'll now put a timeline to say that I believe 1, 2, 3 will probably happen in the first year. 4, 5, 6 will happen in second year, and that's how it is. So it's a leave Babajidesanwo-Olu.com. I've said so.
Okay, right. Thank you very much for clarity's sake.
Yes. Mr. Sanwo-Olu, your benefactor, without whom you will not be here, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has talked so much about the master plan. Let us understand, are you going to deviate from this master plan by refining it, or you're sticking to it and adding more? Because after that turbulent primary in Lagos State, he did release a statement about the incumbent governor deviating from the master plan. So what exactly is this plan you're talking about? Are you sticking to Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu's master plan and adding yours, or you're totally revamping it?
Adesua, you cannot eat an ogle without breaking the egg, right? I don't want you to have a fixation. Relax, release yourself. Do you understand? I've explained to you that how government works, right, is you need to look at what had worked, what are you currently doing, and what will work going forward, right? It's the media that have taken all of this in the context in which you want to understand. I've explained to you, I've been in government I was in government since 2002 to 2011. I came back again in 2016. And I've explained to you that how we've designed it, right, is to have a moving document. You cannot have a master plan that is 50 years, that is 60 years. It doesn't situate, it's not a Mongo Park, era. It's typically what you do a 5-year plan, right? You review after the 3rd year, and you remove, you add on, right? And that's why I said to you that when we started with the 10-point agenda, we've also done what we call the LACIT document, right? Which shows, right, that in critical areas, these are the kind of things we want to be doing. These are the critical support we need to be giving our people in terms of engagement, right? And that's why I said that for us in this campaign, that's what we're bringing back to the table. We look at what the current government is doing, and it's going to be an inclusive governance. What the current government is doing, right? What are the shortfalls? But more, like I said, listening to people. I've said it, listening to people and understanding what are the critical things they want us to be doing for them in 2018, 2019, and going forward, and crafting out a life document that not only is measurable, it's smart, right? It's something that you can hold on to, and it's something it's predictable. And all of the indices that will make sure that is achievable and is sustainable will be clearly stated there. And that's what we have, and that's what we're going to be working with.
Let's talk about infrastructure.
Yes.
Power, to start off with. It's on the residual list of the 99 Constitution, which means both the state governments and federal governments can legislate and, get involved in power generation, transmission, distribution. However, states, including Lagos, seem to have left that to the federal government and are not taking advantage of this right that the Constitution allows them. Would your government represent a change of direction in this sector? Would you encourage private sector participation and ramp up power in Lagos for the benefit of Lagosians at reasonable prices and make an arrangement such that the private sector can get good returns on their investment?
Well, thank you very much, Tunu. Let's put the history proper. The first private sector initiative and power in this country was actually done by Lagos State. It was called the Enron Project. It was a 270 megahertz, and its life is the only living private sector power project that you have in Egmi. 270 megahertz. The PDP government at that time, which is run by President Obasanjo, right, refused to even let that initiative succeed, because there was a phase 2 of that project, which will have brought 540 megahertz to Lagos and to the national grid. You know what they did when Lagos State brought that to 70? They were charging Lagos State government on a month-on-month basis billions of naira, because the landing cost of the power at that time and given the tariff at that time. And the private sector people said they will take it on. They were actually paying for the power then. But the federal government, even at that time, still saw charge Lagos State for an initiative, an innovation, right, that he did over 15 years ago. Let's give credit to them. I was in government when that happened, and it was such an important intervention that we did. You know, so that actually pulled us back and said, oh, no, you don't have the laws, you don't have any. But what Tunde is now saying is that, yes, we know. But you see, just to correct the notion, right, it's not that it's an open concurrent legislation. No. The current power legislation that we have, which is run by the DISCOs and the GENCOs, right, still gives them that seemingly strong hold. But one of the things we've done while on the campaign training, I've had meetings with the 2 distribution companies in Nigeria, both Eko Disco and Ikeja Disco. And we rolled up our sleep and said, what exactly is the problem? How can we help you to ensure that Lagosians, right, get affordable and accessible power within the next 1 year? And we're rolling up the blueprint, because if you do anything contrary to the legal framework that has set them up, right, you will not only, you know, run afoul, right, you will not even succeed. Because you know why? They currently own the grid. They currently own the infrastructure, right, on which you can, to generate is not a problem. I can actually bring 1,000 megahertz and plug it, you know, on the shoreline, right? But to transmit and to distribute will be the issues, right? So you need to have a conversations with them. And that's why we've started that conversation. What exactly are your problems? Why can we not wrap up this thing? And some of the problem is that, yes, we know that, you know, NEC and MBET that they're currently using, they're still owing them. So we said, okay, how are we going to help you ensure that we access some of these your phone? How would you ensure that you put additional investment into your network? Because what they need is they need to be able to buy a lot of cutters, meters, transformers, you know, circuit breakers. Those are the things that they need, and clean up their network so that they can bring what we call the prepaid meters into their system. And we said to them that we can actually help you activate investors. We can activate investment that can bring about 30,000, 40,000 statistical meters and come up. We have started conversation with them, but we know how the legal regulatory environment works. So we don't want to run foul of them. We don't want to go and engage the private sector, bring all of these things on the table, and it's not working. But they're cooperating, because they also, like I did say in my resume, I was also actually involved in the privatization. So I know a whole lot of them one-on-one, right? And I know how the system works. And we've said to them that this is not acceptable. People need to have access to this thing, right? The last time I was still asking my driver and some of my own staff that, what are the issues you have? How can we increase, you know, utilization in your various, flats and rooms that you have? And they explained to us, I've gone around the city, all of the places that I've been to, each one of those houses in Ajegunle, in Otawori, in Mota, I've engaged with the citizens to ask them, what are the critical things you want us to do? And power begins to one of the top 3 things that, and I've said to them that, see, it's something that we need to solve, and we need to begin to solve them very well. So we have a joint team that is working together, right? It's not for me to begin to roll out some of those things, because these are contractual agreements that currently the federal government has with them, right? Yes, everybody can talk about embedded. Embedded, you do a 1 megahertz, 2 megahertz. In fact, just also mention that Lagos State is the only one that has 6 independent IPPs of various sizes in the state. But they can only use it for their own facility, right? The moment you also take it and use it for other activity, right? Under the law that currently, you have to sit with the discourse. And that's why we've started even the conversations with them. And they know that we're serious people. And we're hoping and believing that within the first 1 year, Lagosians will begin to realize, right, the important and so the benefit that will bring about ensuring that we'll have power, not only to almost every citizen, but at the rate in which they can afford it.
Let's look at the issue of policing. Yeah. President Buhari has recently expressed his approval of Lagos State government's initiative with regard to policing, but in practical terms, it actually looks like the decentralization of the police force. Our constitution puts policing on the exclusive list. So in order to give this initiative and others like it legislative backing and actually be able to create a state police force, which Lagos State can afford,
Certainly.
would you be lobbying for a change in the law, a constitutional amendment? Would you lobby for that kind of reform?
Most definitely.
And achieve that for Lagosians?
Most definitely. You see, one of the things I, with all sense of humility, set up the Security Trust Fund in 2008 in the government of BRF, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Within the first 3 months of his administration in 2007, I, with a team, but I led a team that set up the Security Trust Fund, and which is what a lot of other states are using today. Right. Within the first 6 months, we're able to generate well over 300 vehicles to be used by the men of the Nigerian police force. We created the 767, the 112 call center, emergency center. I was part of that whole initiative. Right. So I have been an advocate, and a very strong one, right, for the restructuring and decentralization of the police force. And it's something that we're so passionate about because we've seen it in other jurisdictions. It's community policing. If you're in an area, you understand where the black spots are. You understand what the issues are because you've been in that area for 15, 20 years. So you know the kids that are not going to school. You know the corner shop that is always a gathering point for all sort of funny human beings. You know the places that will give you challenges. So you can nip it in the bud early enough. And that's why we keep saying that it's only when we deregulate, and it's part of the, the restructuring we're talking about in this country, that policing becomes an easier means, right? It's not when somebody, and with all due respect, somebody comes from Delta State or comes from Akwa Ibom State, right? Just learning what, the geography of Lagos is, after staying here for 2 years, it's about time to go to another location. And so you bring somebody else again in who now start afresh, understanding what are the peculiar things, what are the challenges of different areas, right? And that's why I will, in my government, push for it, lobby for it, ensure that it start working from like yesterday. Because I've not just started it today, I started 10 years ago by ensuring that we started the Security Trust Fund, by ensuring that Lagosians can't use the 112767 number. And if it is not working well now, that's some of the things we will need to do. 10 years into it, maybe it's time for us to rejig it, restructure it. What are the positive things? What are the things that we can reshape there to ensure that we just not only equip our policemen, we ensure that security of law and order is a primary responsibility of government, and our government will live up to that responsibility and will ensure that people sleep with their 2 eyes closed. And that's one of the things that will encourage private sector investment in your territory.
You've talked about power, electricity, and then security. Let's talk about healthcare and education. Yeah. You said you've had engagement with the people. Yeah. Surely those two must come up tops in their list. What's your plan for healthcare and education in Lagos? Because really, a lot still needs to be done in those areas.
So if you allow me to talk about the 5 pillars, which is team, right? There's traffic, which you take me. There's traffic management and transportation in one. Mm-hmm. The H there is health and environment, right? The M there. THEM, the M there is making Lagos a 21st century economy. The E is education and technology. And the last one is entertainment and tourism, right? So you can see that in all of our buckets of pillars, right? Health is there, education is there. Health, I was opportune to have sat, at the launch of the recent health insurance scheme. That is the way we need to go. We have well over 330 primary health institutions. We have about 27 secondary health institutions, and we have 1 major tertiary health institution. We need to bring about affordable, accessible health insurance scheme for our people, but also ensuring that health, not only is it accessible and affordable, the very vulnerable people, the ages 65 and above, the young children 5 and below, government do the intervention for them, right? In terms of giving them, providing the envelope that can support that insurance scheme so that other players that are coming into it get paid for it when they give services to the age bracket that I've just given. But more importantly is to look at all of our primary health institutions. Like I said, we have over 300 of them. Let's quickly equip them put the relevant staff there, put the relevant equipment there, so that for everybody that needs to use, an hospital, not everybody needs to go to Lasut for a headache or for a leg injury. You will have your primary health close to your community, with 300 of them working close to your community, and you can access. There'll be basic health, access that they'll be providing, maternal care, child care, and basic, surgeries that they can do. And it's only when they cannot handle it that they go to the secondary, health institute. So what we need to do very quickly, right, is to continue to advocate about ensuring that people sign on to the health insurance scheme. Because when they sign on, what that does is that it opens up even the private health institutions supporting government. Because for the health insurance, meaning that it's not only limited to the government hospitals, some private hospitals too will be part of it. And meaning the moment you sign on, you can actually attend either a government hospital or a private hospital. There'll be a clearing house in which they get to pay. That's why it's an insurance, it's an health insurance. But you need to sign on. The process just started up less than a month ago. We need to continue to advocate for it so that we get a lot more people, 1 million, 2 million people, because it's a game of numbers, right? So once you have a lot of people, signing on to it, then it becomes a lot more accessible and it becomes a lot more affordable, right? And it's only when you have that on every street, at least there will be an hospital that you can access, be it public or be it private, because if they're on the health insurance scheme, right? That's one. Right. The other side of it is also to look at their welfare and to look at the environment in which they work, right? And to wrap up very quickly, but doing that, ensuring that we also can measure service. We can do measurement of quality of the delivery. Health officers must also be accountable to show that all of the facilities that we've given to them, that we can actually ensure and measure that service has been rendered and at a quality, level. So it's the vulnerable people, the people that cannot afford the payment of the health insurance, that government needs to first identify who they are, know where they stay, and government provide that support for them so that they are not out of the scheme, they are not out of the bracket. So that's what we'll be doing, all the health. For education, it's almost like a symbiotic. And I need to mention that, for the health, we also need to increase our budget, meaning our envelope, on year. We're doing currently about 7-8%. I think we need to push that threshold to about 12 or 13. So what that would do is there'll be a bit more money in the health sector, because we all say health is wealth. So let's do action on it. Let's put real money.
What would your administration be pushing for budget allocation?
That's what I said.
Can you give us a figure so we can hold you accountable to it?
No, well, you see, when I said it's currently at about 7 to 8 now, I said we'll move it to about 12, 13. I just said so.
12, 13.
Yeah, I just said so now. I said we'll be moving to about 12, 13, which, like you said, you cannot begin to shave. It's only when you're there you begin to see the whole true picture. But I know that we can push it very well to 12, 13, which is about 5%. So what you need to do year on year is to see how you wrap up, right, and how you sustain those kind of numbers. Same with in education, right, is to look at what are the issues. The issues is not just in terms of infrastructure. The issue is in terms of the quality of the output, and how accessible are educational institutions, right? We know that there's still a lot of vulnerable children out there who, they're really not out of school, but who are not being given the quality that we require for educational standards. So when I was commissioner for staff training and pension, I was year on year ensure that I was training about 1,500 teachers. Right. So we need to go back to that. I don't know what number are being trained now, but we need to check that number and ensure that year on year, at least we get 1,500 to 2,000 teachers trained and retrained, right? When you train them with modern equipment, modern training and learning, capabilities, then they can go back to the classroom and pass on that message. That's one. Secondly, the environment in which that learning has to happen, right? We need to put back quality there, right? Ensuring that our public school, right, are places where the kids really want to go, and stay. But more importantly, part of the things we're seeing, which is why our engagement is trained out, that what are the strategies we need to keep people after school, right? So parents also, we all need to look back on that and see what engagement do we need to do? How can we get, to cooperate with government and keep our kids active, even out of school, and make sure they're not just roaming around, all of the community after school. So we need to think through what kind of vocation, what kind of activity can we still do post the normal school hours to engage them and make sure that they're still active, right? Part of the things that we're also looking at is the curriculum, right? Has increasingly challenging in our environment as it is. You know, we've looked at coding, for example. We've looked at putting that as a new curriculum. But, you know, we'll probably be handicapped because the regulatory body that ensure that curriculum are changed or are uploaded is at the federal level. There's a National Education Board, right? And it takes years for some time for you to get a new curriculum put on into the current, you know, because what they say is, you know, what doesn't get measured, you cannot know if what doesn't get, measured, they don't learn it. You can't just say that I'm going to put coding or put new learning environments into the school if they don't get measured, meaning that if they are not tested or need to do examination, they probably will not be interested. So these are new areas that we want to collaborate and ensure that we get the federal government, right, on our side to ensure that if we have new curriculum for the schools, right, let them work with us on this and let's people bring this about, right. STEM education is one area that we also need to wrap up, you know, the level of teachers, you know, that we have in that area and the level of schools that are fully activated in that area. Right? And in the course of the first 1-2 years of our government, these are some of the deliverables that will ensure that we can bring about on the table.
All right, so now let's move on to something very pressing. Of course, Lagos is a cosmopolitan city, and that means that waste generation actually happens by the hour. Your incumbent has tried to tackle this, and I must say has not done a stellar job at doing that. How would you want to tackle waste management in Lagos State, knowing fully well that as it stands right now, amongst the 140 megacities in the world, Lagos seems to be one of the filthiest at the moment?
Well, thank you very much, Aaron. You see, it's going to be two-way prong. Like I said, it's one of the major things in our environment, you know, health and environment pillar. For waste management, it has to be comprehensive. It's not just waste collection. There has to be total attitude change, right? To ensure that it's like power. Waste that is generated, how is it collected, how is it transmitted, and how is it disposed, right? So one of the things we'll be talking about is how do we do waste sorting? That is how you need to start the enforcement and ensuring that you have an effective and efficient waste management system. The two lovely ladies here, and it has to start from your kitchen, where we will put monies on the table and generate enough disposal bags for you. Yellow bags, green bags, or black bags. Yellow for plastic, the other one will be for bottles, and the last one will be for organic waste. So that by the time we put sorting from the kitchen, collection becomes easier. Because once you see a yellow bag, you know where it's going. Once you see a green bag, you know where it's going. Once you see a black bag, you know where it's going. So that you will take scavengers out of the dump site. You take people out of the transfer loading station. And it will encourage, more important, investment. We've heard about waste to wealth and waste to conversion and fertilizer and power. It's when it's been sorted that you will encourage investment in this area. Because waste sorting alone takes about 20 to 25% of the cost of investment in waste to wealth. So once we can do a lot of advocacy, and that's where you guys need to come in and help us. A lot of advocacy has to go here in schools, in churches, in mosques, in media houses, to say that once we provide the waste bags, let us have a culture change. From the kitchen, let us oblige and, you know, ensure that we do the sorting. Once you do the sorting, collection becomes a lot easier. Because the days they come for yellow bags is yellow bag, they pick it. The days they come for green bag is green bag, they pick it. Right? And so we don't need to crowd the transfer loading station. And by extension, we then need to have what we call a sanitary landfill site, a proper sanitary landfill site, which ensures that the biodegradable components of the waste manure, you know, is compacted and is measured very well. And the organic ones is the ones that they can turn to fertilizer. So once that process is on comprehensively, right, you begin to see investment in some areas. People that need to take the plastic will take the plastic. People that need to take the bottles for recycling will take the bottles. And the one that is organic, meaning the food waste and all sorts that we need to, people that want to use that for fertilizer, organic, whatever it is, they will be interested. And that's how you attract investment. Then the highways, right, then you can put the lawmakers of this world, ensure that you create investment also for the PSPs. You know, because one of the things that we realize is that you need to incentivize them some way. their cash flows, right, it's receivables over a couple of years, right? So once we found out that Aaron PLC is the one that will be collecting for Victoria Island, right, and it has a cash flow that will be coming, let's be able to help Aaron access the bank, right, show to them that on a month-on-month basis, these are his receivables, right, give him 10 compactor trucks, give him 15 compactor trucks, and ensure that he's paying back on a monthly basis for the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay, let me just, because you're mentioning this, of course, relegating Loma was one of those downsides, and some people attribute it to the downfall of the incumbent governor, and of course, and also starting of Visionscape. Would you be scrapping Visionscape, or would you be restoring Loma? How would you want to go about this waste management system? Because there's still Loma on one side, there's still Visionscape on the other side.
Aaron, you know, you will need to be a lot more very creative. You don't throw the baby and the bathwater away, right? Once you get there, and you cannot shave a man's head in his absence. It's only when you sit there that you see the commercials of Visionscape. I cannot begin to talk of what I don't see. Right? But I know that, for clarity, there'll be some good things that I've done. So if you have the baby and you have the bathwater, look through the baby, right? Save the baby. If there are things that they need to discard, let's discard it, right? And not let's have that general perception that it's all bad. It certainly cannot be, right? There's been investment that has gone in there, right? Maybe there are some commercials that have not tidied up very well. Or maybe they also didn't have the capacity, you know, to be able to deal with a mega city of the status. So maybe we need to recreate 10, 15 of such names, right? And let also the PSP, because it's a big place. But once you do that, you will see that investment, real investors will come on board, right? And they'll be able to help you out. So we'll be looking at them.
Okay.
Let's not forget that the State Assembly, Lagos State Assembly does not also recognize Visionscape.
Well, I mean, so, you know, I'm not...
Yes, we know that.
Exactly.
We know that.
So, yes.
We'd like you to catch your breath as we go on a break now. And when we return, we'll have more from the APC gubernatorial candidate for the elections, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Still with us in the studio is the gubernatorial candidate for the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Welcome back, sir.
Yes,
I hope you've had enough time to catch your breath.
Okay.
So now let's talk about the IGR of Lagos.
Yeah.
Lagos State boasts of the highest in the country.
Yeah.
However, it has hardly scratched the surface, really. Even though it's over $1 billion IGR generated, we have a population in the state of 20 million residents. A lot more could be done. So what is your plan to ensure that a lot more is done in respect to attracting employment initiatives, investors, revamping tax policies to improve the IGR of Lagos State?
Well, thank you very much. You know, so you've said it in two sides, right? The numbers we have now might appear huge relative to other states in the country, but it's just a drop compared to other mega cities and the level of challenge that comes with the population that you've enumerated. And I'll give you a simple statistics, right? The budget of Lagos State last year is less than $3 billion, well less than $3 billion. If you take a city like New York, a department in the city of New York, child welfare or police, have budget in excess of $4 billion in a year. $4 billion, a department, not a state. Same in the city of Chicago or Boston. And I can go on and on like that. Right, and so the $3 billion less that we're talking about in Lagos, right, will take care of all of the various things we've talked about: security, health, education, waste management, traffic, and all of it. So you begin to see that in terms of the numbers and the kind of environment all of you have grown up, we've all seen, right, we need to do a whole lot more. So the strategy is to look at who is outside of a bracket. How do we ensure that we bring a lot more people onto the bracket, right? So widening the jaw and ensuring that it's inclusive. It's not a punitive tax regime, right? But the question you ask, which one would need to come first, right? You know, you say you cannot eat an omelette without breaking the egg. So the people will say to you, we want to see service first before we pay, right? So government needs to be very creative out of it. So we probably need to roll up our sleeves and creatively innovate what are the things we need to bring about to ensure that people freely really come up and trust us to want to also pay those taxes, because a lot of people, of those 20 million, are not within the taxes. And I can show you, because I can tell you that, because I know what the numbers are, right? So the issue is not to burden the people that are currently there. The strategy will be to bring about initiatives, innovations that will attract a lot more people, and willingly so. Because once they see a government that is not only transparent, that is not only responsive, that is not only accountable, right, people will truly, really believe that their money is working for them. And that's what we're going to do. And that's why we also will ensure that our economy will encourage the private sector. Like I've said in my team, right, making Lagos a truly 21st century economy, ensuring that the private sector, who are the real engines of growth, who controls well over 80% of the GDP of the state, right, do additional investment. When they do those additional investment, they will make more money. When they make more money, they will have enough to give back to the state. And will come about innovations and ensuring that we have a lot of PPPs using using private equity, using private funds to run some of the public initiatives. And that's how we can grow the economy. And that's how that number, go up. Right? And we can do a lot more, ensuring that we'll continue to let the greater number enjoy the greatest goods.
Okay, Mr. Sanwo-Olu, we asked our viewers yesterday when you confirmed you would be appearing this morning to send in questions they would like to ask you. And I have the first one here from Adeleke Oluseyi Adedayo. And the question is, how will you effectively govern Lagos, putting the state first over godfatherism? Akinwunmi Ambode, which is the incumbent governor, lost it while putting Lagos first over godfatherism. So, how would you?
Well, it's a wrong perception. I mean, that's Akinwunmi's view. Adeleke Oluseyi Adedayo, right? That's 1 out of 20 million Lagosians. That's his own view, right? I've said to you what my pedigree is. I've said to you what my resume is. I've been lucky at 36 to have joined government. I've been lucky to have been given the responsibility to have done all of the leadership things that I've done. I'm not the greatest or the smartest person, right? But I have the will of the people. I have the concern of the people. I have the willingness to change the narratives around. And I have the ability, given the experience that I've gathered over time, both in public and private sector, right, to be able to do it. But, I cannot start up and say, I want to do any of these things alone. It has to be under a platform. It has to be under a party. It has to be under something that will come a political setup. And that's how our constitution has been set up. It's not me. It's not you. That's how it happens. So we need to understand and appreciate that in every of those political structures, there are leaders. There are people that have been in politics for 40 years, for 50 years, for 60 years. And there's a choice they've made. And we need to respect those choices. And we need to respect them. And so if I have been opportune to have joined that trade and I've learned the trade, and God has uniquely used them also to help me, giving me leadership positions, and I've delivered in terms of ensuring that the quality of life of the people that we're governing, that we're legislating over, improves. And I have the opportunity to come and run the state government now. Why would I run away from the fact that it has to be answerable to the 20 million plus Lagosians that I'll be answering it to? Why do we think that it has to be 2, 3 political leaders that we have? And we need to have them, rightly so. Because there's no constitution that says that I have to be an independent person to come and contest. No, it has to be under a political structure. And people have been in politics way long before me. And that structure and that political organization and that political platform, people have been in it. They've been measuring it. They've had on, they've removed. The party has emerged, has evolved over time. It's the only party, and let's talk about it, it's the only party that has truly, really, rejigged itself. In the last 18 years or so, it has transformed to 4 different names. Removing people, looking for new hats-on that have the same vision as themselves, putting themselves together, and ensuring that we keep on turning the wheel of this country. There was a time in which there was only 1 governor that was from my party. Now they have almost 20-something of them. It goes to show that there's something that is working. And let's be for real. It goes to show that there's something that is working. But another party has been there. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. You are not changing anything and you're expecting a different result. No. So along the line, you've seen that if 20 of us come together, 16 of us says, okay, it doesn't make sense. So another 4 comes together, bringing new fresh ideas, bringing new people. Further down the line, it's not working again. Let's redo it. It's not working again. Let's redo it. In my view, that's innovation. In my view, they need to be commended.
Well, there's another question here from Adebayo Adeshola, and this person is asking, can you bring back the feedback policy of Babatunde Fashola by publishing his phone numbers and other important members of government if he wins?
Well, thank you very much, Adebayo Adeshola. That's a government in which I served. Uniquely, actually, I've served all the 3 governors in the last 17 years or so. But, I mean, I was Commissioner for Establishment, Training and Pension under BRF, which I said. And part of the things we said to ourselves in our government early is that we're going to be accessible and we're going to be accountable. And the way to do it is you must ensure that accessibility is not just by word of mouth. We agreed at the EXCO, at the cabinet meeting, all of us must put our telephone numbers down. And I will share the same numbers with you. It's the same number I've had for 19 years since MTN started in this country. It's the same number I'm still using. It's one number. And I will ensure that my colleagues that will join me in the cabinet will do the same thing. We'll put it there. People must be able to access you. People must be able to reach you. You might not be able to speak to them at the time in which they want to speak to you, but there's always a callback. But that's one. The second one, which we're also going to do, we must have a 2-way citizens engagement. Internet is available now. Technology has grown where you can sift and you can see how many number of people, what they're saying. And in the same way, this way, that you can check your system and see who is communicating with you. It's for government to ensure that they can communicate well. Ensure that you set up a platform where you have a 2-way citizens engagement. People that want to reach you. People that want to say to you that, you know what, the drainage in front of my street has grown up, right? The street light on my street is not using yellow again. It's changed to another color. And those are feedbacks that you require from them. And that's one of the things they want to tell you. And so you must be accessible. And so if you want me to give you the number today, I will give it to you. It's the same number that I've been using. It's the same number that I'll continue to use. And the same thing we talked about in BRF.
Okay. All right. Now, let's now move it on to your rival, because you've rebutted that particular claim, but he has insisted that Lagos State is in chains. And he said that over the last 20 years, 7 trillion has been spent and little to show for it. Even the lag bus, which is your brainchild, is not working. Healthcare in Lagos is at an all-time low. You look at infrastructure, everything seems to be failing in Lagos State, and he's drumming on this to garner support. And that, because he's still popular here in Lagos, a lot of people still maybe look up to him. And he's now saying that it's time for a change. That if Lagos State under, like you have said, it might have changed different nomenclatures, but the same actors have been in the game for the last 20 years, and we've not seen any kind of result in the last 20 years. And 7 trillion has been spent. You mentioned the economy. It's almost rivaling that of Kenya and Ghana put together, what Lagos State's economy is. And they're saying that they've done nothing with it. Why should they give you a chance above your rival right now?
Aaron, I'm sure these are not your own personal views. These are the views that you've expressed by some.
Yes, I'm just quoting him.
Okay, because I can see a whole lot of passion in this. Aaron, with all the greatest, sincerity, are you in chains? Are you in bondage? I see lovely faces in your studio. This is no chain.
The transportation?
I will answer.
Yes.
This is no chain, right? Lagos in 1999, in 2010, is not what it is today. If I should show you some statistics, right? Lagos, when this government, like you keep saying, came in, right, in 1999, they were borrowing money to pay salary. Let me repeat. They were borrowing money to pay salary, which was a recurrent expenditure month on month. They were borrowing money to pay salary. This same person that says that we're in chain, right? For 2 years, his government held Lagos in captivity. They did not pay what is due from the national coffers to Lagosians. For 2 years, what was their offense? Creating local government, access to people, creating a local government where people will have access to their government, to be listened to. They shut it down. He wasn't talking then. He wasn't talking about freedom. Who has been in chains? Who has been in bondage? Lagos that has grown to be the 5th largest economy. Those things doesn't happen just because you want to hear it. It happens because people have rolled off their sleeves and work has happened. It happens because people have moved numbers. Envelopes have been grown. It happens because you say, Awolowo Road, that's where you are. We built Awolowo Road. Awolowo Road 10 years ago used to be face metal. It was a 6-meter road. Now Awolowo Road is more than 18 meters. It has 2 lanes on both sides, Aaron. Awolowo Road that you are on was rebuilt.
Mr. Sanwo-Olu?
No, the same passion Aaron has shown. I need to show you the same passion.
But
so we are not in bondage. We are not. We are growing. We are taking Lagos to a greater height. We're people that is moving. If people don't know that, they don't need to speak once every 4 years. So if somebody says that we're in bondage or the last 4 years, there's not been a single pronouncement. There's not been a single word to even come as an alternative voice, right? As a real, people that you believe you have genuine intentions. Come on and let's see what pronouncement, what press statement has happened in the last 4 years. It's not a FIFA competition that you come every 4 years. I just want to say things people want to hear. No, we are people that are doers. We're not just talkers.
Okay, let's move to another allegation by your closest rival, because you do have several.
Absolutely.
Jimmy Agbaje of the PDP, about entrenched corruption in Lagos State. His claims were recently given more gravitas when it has emerged that the red and blue lines, the construction by the China Railway Construction Corporation, the monorail project, were grossly inflated. What is your plan to eliminate entrenched corruption in Lagos State and make it more, increase accountability to all stakeholders?
Well, Tulu, talk is cheap. So you said allege. And allegiance means that you must have proof to say it. The CCCC company is a foremost Chinese construction company that has built the same railroad you see in Abuja, that has developed the entire rail corridor for us, that has built the new airport we're seeing in Abuja, we're seeing in, and they're using a whole lot of their own investments to do it. I was in government when we signed, the agreement to start up the Blue Line. Let me give you one information. The same Jide Sanwo-Olu's party, PDP, for 6 years, 6 years refused to give us access to the Red Line that has an existing corridor, which is the corridor from Ebute Metta to Agege, which is an existing corridor, if you know Lagos very well, which is where, when we were growing up, it was a rail line. For 6 years, they refused to give us access for no reason, and which was a no-brainer. It's something that we can, low-hanging fruit, retract it and put trails on it. So we need to go to the Blue Line to go and do the harder work, which is to open up the Badagry Express Road and now put a rail line in the middle of it, which is what is going on right now. But you know what to do? By the grace of God, we will complete that rail. It's on the water now because they need to do that bridge on the water. And you can see the pylons are coming up.
Do you care to demonstrate some of this transparency now and tell us how much this Blue Line, which is yet to be completed, has got so far? How much has it cost us so far?
How would I know?
Well, you've worked in successive governments.
Wait, listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. Just calm down. I left that government in 2011. I left BRF government in 2011, 7 years ago or 8 years ago. Right. I mean, how am I supposed...
But this Blue Line has been running for 12 years. This particular project has been running for 12 years.
It's not 12 years. I said to you that we signed it in 2010. I was in government when we signed in 2010. It has not been run. It's been construction that is going on. Okay. It's a 30-something kilometer construction from Okokomaiko.
Yes, from the Okoko side.
From Okokomaiko, it's supposed to get on to Marina, right? It's crossing the bridge now to get onto the Marina. The whole lot of other ones have been done. They need to do the bridge on water to get to Marina. We all see the pylons, we all see the bridge coming out there. To ask me to give you a figure, right, it will be unfair. It will be most unfair.
How so?
Right, because how many figures will I need to roll? How would I know? Am I a magician that I will know that your next question will be how much they used to develop Oyinbo Market and how much they used to develop Awolowo Road that was construction in 2006? Let's be fair. We cannot just ask questions because we want to ask it. Let's also be fair. What I've said to you, I've given you the profile of CCCC. I've given you the profile of the things they've done in this country. And I'm saying that if I know them, that's the foremost construction company, even from China, right?
Well, it's fine if you don't have the figures at your fingertips.
I certainly don't have
questions, I must clarify, questions are not being asked simply because we want to ask.
I understand.
They're being asked so that it can be answered in your own words for the education and enlightenment of the public.
Yeah, but when you now get specific
campaign,
and tell me to give and expect and says that it's 300 million or it's 299.99 million, I don't have that figure. I certainly cannot conjure such figures. I'm a systems person. I'm a numbers person. But that if you ask me what's the GDP, if you ask me, what is the mortality rate, if you ask me if I know those ones, but just to ask for a figure of a construction of a work, no, I don't.
Which is fine.
Although you have dismissed this, but there's a perception that if you do win these elections, you will become a lame duck governor. And, the incumbent seemed to have done that until when he tried to revolt and he didn't win the ticket back. What would you be doing differently?
Okay, you see...
To quell this perception.
You see, it depends on which side, we really want to do things. This same system, I've talked about people hand-picking candidates, where you sit back and say 3, 4 people just hand-pick candidates. And for the first time, the party said, you know what, let everybody that is a card-carrying member of the party go out there and choose their candidates for the first time. And so everybody also now come back and criticize that exercise. For the first time, we have over 1 million APC card-carrying members went to an election, right, and they gave me 970,000 votes to be picked as their candidate. Maybe the question should be that, how come I became that popular? Because I've been around that long. And that's why you might not know me before now, right? But the political structure, the political members of the party, I've been a party man, right? I've been involved at the senatorial level, at my local government level. I've said to you that even while I was outside of government, right, I do a lot of NGO. I do a lot of capacity development. I do a lot of giving back to my community in terms of mentoring, in terms of giving aid to people that requires them, in terms of ensuring that I empower people, in terms of going around hospitals, going around and ensuring that we give a little support to our people. That's what happens. That's how you begin to get the affection of your people. That's how you begin to appreciate and understand. I'm coming, for people to know who you are at the party structure level. So for once, right, we had an election in which every party member had their say. But that's what has happened.
You cannot wish away the power that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu wields in Lagos State. And we've seen this actually play out, and that's why we are asking this question, because we've seen it play out that after 4 years, there's always seems to be a new person he wants to bring aboard. That was what actually happened in 2007, leading up to 2011. He also said that he wanted somebody new aboard in 2011. Although that did not happen, we've seen it play out again after that again. As we're going into 2019, he was new, someone new, which you have actually come aboard. Come 2023.
Interestingly,
yes,
just yesterday, Mr. President also handed over his party and handed over his campaign to him. That must be something. Right, so it's sort of like saying that he also wants to change president. Just yesterday, the president said, and you guys heard it, you are media people, and said that he's going to lead his campaign. Somebody that has been given that responsibility at the national level, right? Lagos is just one of the 36 states. Lagos is just one of his several babies. This man is a national leader. He's a man that is passionate about the conversation of Nigeria. That's why Mr. President had to hand him over his own campaign. Aaron, let's give a little bit of credit and let's leave perceptions of what you want to feel.
He's a statesman, without a doubt.
Absolutely. So if that is happening, right, if that just happened yesterday, right, it goes to show that there has to be something that the Southwest have seen, that the Northeast have seen, that the North Central have seen, that the Southwest have seen, that in terms of delivering politically for president.
But we're just laying out precedents for you.
Well, you see, that's what I'm saying. You see, it's a perception that you just want to be comfortable with. And that's why I'm correcting it. And you see, one of the things we need to have here is to be able to correct whatever perception or whatever negativity has been. And that's why you've given me the right to also be heard. And that's why I'm giving you the information. This was just happened yesterday.
All right.
Right on the spot.
Let's now look at abandoned projects, such as Ilubinri, amongst others.
Okay.
What would your administration do? Are you going to restart these projects or jettison them entirely?
Well, I've been in LSP, so I've been in construction, housing on its own, right? I think what happened in my understanding and in the little inquiry I've done is that they wanted to change some of the metrics of Ilubinri. I'm not sure it was totally just thrown up, outside like that. As we speak, there's some works that is going on there. I think they wanted to make it a lot more user-friendly in terms of work, play, and live, as against just making it a single lifestyle. I think they wanted to make it a proper lifestyle, which is what the concept of human and physical planning development are telling to world right now, where you see work, live, and play. So that's the metrics in which they're putting there now, in which there will be some commercial activity, right? There will be a lot of recreational activity, and of course, there will be a lot of residential activity. That's the metrics in which they've come up. So to answer the question rightly, I will certainly push to complete that project as soon as possible.
Let's go a bit into campaigns now. Lagos is indeed a cosmopolitan state, yes. And large non-indigenous population, the Hausas, the Igbos, all here, and other ethnic groups. Have you had meetings with them? And do you think you'll be able to sway them to vote for you?
I have had several. They are very important stakeholders. Very, very, I've had very great Hausa friends and Igbo friends, right? Just 2 days ago, right, I was with a large Hausa Arewa community, a huge one, right? I had a wonderful time, The other day, the Igbos actually, they actually gave me a chieftaincy title.
What is that?
I might not be able to pronounce it in exact words.
Okay.
It was at the National Stadium, and we had over 70 Eze Indigbos, meaning traditional title holders, traditional like the Obas in Lagos, the Ezes in Lagos, over 70 of them, right? I mean, I so much cherish. That's the first time I'm given a title anywhere in the world, So that also coming from my Igbo brothers, I feel so humbled. It's something that is very humbling, and it just goes to show that you need to do a whole lot more for your people. People expect you to raise the bar. People expect you to do a whole lot more, and do it without fear or favor, without ethnicity, without being preferential to anybody, because we're all human beings.
I need to interject at this point, and it has to be raised. Governor Ambode made claims that you were unfit for office. He claimed that you were allegedly arrested for spending fake dollars, and that you also had a mental breakdown which required hospitalization and rehabilitation. Is there any truth to these claims?
You know what is happening here is you have so much you want to give to me, and I'm enjoying it. You never even allow me to finish any of the observations before you, because I can see that there's a whole lot that is pushing it. But it's okay, it's interesting. But let's understand and appreciate that information is critical. Several times I've answered this question, but you also want to hear me speak about it again. On Christmas Day, I went to the facility that you're talking about. And you know what? I do on every of my birthday. For information, Christmas Day was half of my birthday, so it was still fitting, 25th of December, because I'm 25th of June, right? And I went around all the wards with the Rotary Club of Bagada, right? And we're giving out love and sharing the warmth of Christmas to all the patients that were there. And at the end of that exercise, the media men, your colleagues, stood down and asked the managing director of that hospital, there's a gentleman, there's a man called Babajide Sanwo-Olu, we heard blah, 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 we heard blah, blah, blah. Can you confirm or allege or something? And they gave proper answer, and it's in the media domain, right? But for emphasis, right, what he said was that I've never been a patient, they've never had a record of me, I've never been there before, and so this is the optimum time. Tunu, you want to hear your own. This is the optimum time that I'm saying it, because I know that you have been called. That I'm saying and I'm repeating it, it has never happened. But by the way, when you're in politics, things happen. This is an office that I'm aspiring to. It's not an office that I'm going to bring down. Ambode is my governor. We're friends, and we remain friends. Yes, I was a commissioner we've been together, so we know. But in the spirit, in the heat of election, things happen. People don't reconfirm and reject. Right? And we've moved on. You understand? We've moved on. But the media wants to keep asking, and I'm answering like 1,000 times, so it will be 1,001 times, and I'm going to be ready for the 1,002nd time. It will not be a problem.
Thank you for indulging us.
That's okay. That's okay.
In one sentence, if you can.
Yes, I will.
Who's funding your campaigns? And are you happy with the state of posters and defacing we have in Lagos with your face and your party? Very quickly, we have to go.
It's goodwill that has been funding the campaign, to be honest. I'm actually humbled. And what that tells me is that I actually need to do a whole lot more. There are people in my life that I've never seen before. that are taking their resources and they've never asked to see me. All they've heard is that what I stand for, what I've done, and what kind of person in their view of me. And they've used their resources to do all of these things. In terms of defacing, you see, that's what we're not using. I've told them not to use posters. These are things that can be removed in 1 minute. They're all banners that you can screw and unscrew, and in 30 minutes, the whole place will go back to what it is. So it's good, it's Lagosian, and I will be very happy at this one, Aaron, Tulu, if you also find it in your good heart, you know, to do a poster for me and just create one name. If you don't want your name to be
ethically,
I said don't put your name, Aaron. I've said so now. I said
we have to go.
You know, I just put it there, and you know, just let's leave it like that.
Then we'll be doing for all the 41 candidates.
Well, I mean, it's your call, you know.
Many thanks. We do wish you all the best in the elections.
Yes.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
APC governorship candidate for Lagos State.